All right, number 27, factor. So I went ahead and copied those two questions from number 26, since we're going to be using them with each factoring question going forward. And number 1 says, is there a GCF? Well, let's take a look. Yeah, there definitely is, right? We can at least factor out an R, but hopefully some alarm bells are going off because you see that our leading term is negative. And you may recall that when your leading term is negative, you want to go ahead and also factor out a negative as well, because you can't start to factor until your leading term is positive. So not only are we going to take out an R, but let's go ahead and take out a negative R. And when we take that negative r out, we're going to be left with r squared minus 2r plus 35. Right? And we can check ourselves. Negative r times r squared does give us negative r cubed. Negative r times negative 2r does in fact give us positive 2r squared. And negative r times positive 35 does in fact give us negative 35r. And so we know that we factored that completely. And so you can see that by virtue of factoring out the negative, our leading term, what's left now inside our parentheses, is positive. And we always want to start with a positive leading term before we begin to factor. If you tried to factor this trinomial and it was a negative, you're going to create a nightmare for yourself. And you probably won't actually end up being able to do it. So always make sure that your leading term is positive before you start to factor. And speaking of factoring, how many terms are there? Well, there are 3 terms left. We know that with 3 terms, we're either going to use the AC method, the trial and error method, the scissors method to try to factor this. But actually, you can't factor this particular trinomial. There are no factors that will work given these signs. And so this is our final answer here for number 27. And you could go ahead and try to factor that. I was just saying I did the work prior to filming, and there unfortunately are no factors that will get us this trinomial, so we're going to stop here. Negative r times the quantity r squared minus 2r plus 35.